direct injection of that ammonia into this, which is a precise piezoelectric injector, which is more complex than diesel engine injection is. Number 3 is, in case you inject more ammonia than necessary, ammonia is more corrosive, more obnoxious to the environment than the original NOx itself.
So if you get any NH3 slip, that might be a huge issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not doing it correctly, you're going to actually pollute more than what you started with. So because of this is a big complex stuff, and it occupies a lot of space. And for low temperatures like the typical American or the European, Northern European, it freezes at -10. So the whole thing has to be heated, and it's a paraphernalia that competes in terms of complexity with the engine itself.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why the diesel slowly will have its own issue. But luckily for it, big trucks is where diesel are really absolutely necessary. For cars, it's okay. You can have a gasoline engine. For a big truck, you have to have a diesel to drive the vehicle.
Right. So selective catalytic reducers with ammonia or but these things are actually being used for diesel emission, aren't they currently?
Come again, please.
Are SCRs used for diesel powered cars right now?
Yeah, SCRs are used. I mean, in fact, they have to be, after 2020, several million vehicles in Europe, they have to fit them. I mean, like a retrofit.
Right.
The SCRs have to be fitted, otherwise they can't meet the Euro 6 norms. So they have to fit it.
Can you use SCRs on gasoline engines?
No, not required, because you don't have that level of NOx and coming out of a gasoline engine. So catalytic converter is more than enough. There's no problem with gasoline.
Right, but how can you cut down, let's say for gasoline engines, how can you cut down the NOx even further, especially in cold starts? Can you talk to me a little bit about cold starts as well? Because I've heard that 90% of emissions from a vehicle come during cold starts of a gasoline.
Yeah.
And is that true?
Yeah, in idling and the cold start are the worst case scenarios for the vehicle. Fundamentally, basically, because your cold start, your engine cylinders are all cold.
Right.
So the several cycles and they are very thick thermal mass. So they have enough thermal mass to absorb the heat. So anytime you have a fuel burning inside the combustion chamber, when they come in contact with the cold surfaces, they don't burn themselves fully.
Right. But my question is the percentage, is 90% an accurate figure, would you say?
I am not. Okay, let me put it the other way around. Between a hot cycle and a cold cycle, maybe it may be 90% of emission comes from that. But the amount of time in a mission, like you drive a car, take a car for a 1 hour drive, the cold cycle is going to be very diminutive part of that.
Especially if you're going for a long drive. Right.
Yeah. It's a small part. So on the total emission for your mission, assuming you from home to work to back home, let's call it a mission cycle. In a mission cycle, the total your carbon footprint, the contribution of cold start may be a small percentage. So
what kind of ideas can you do for reducing NOx even further? If you were to, let's say, try to eliminate that as much as possible for a gasoline.
Essentially, what happens is it'll become very similar to the SCR, in the sense the emission that comes out of an engine depends on the drive cycle, the speed, and everything else that goes in, right? So essentially, what happens is when you drive the car at different times during the time, different levels of emission would come. So to kill these obnoxious elements, basically. If it's carbon monoxide, you have to oxidize it. Again, NOx, you have to oxidize it. You need to know the exact quantity of those chemicals present.
Right.
And these are gases. The greatest problem, this is a part of the chemistry we may have to talk for a second, is anything wet chemistry is very easy to measure. Meaning that if you were to know what's the content of alcohol in a liquid, you can very easily measure. Even if you have a fraction of a droplet, you can get it done. and then it's almost instantly you can get it. But